Call to order the Monday, March 23rd, 2020 Maplewood City Council meeting. Good evening and welcome everyone. Tonight,
Mayor, excuse me, Mayor, this is Kathy. It's April 13th meeting.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the minutes. I'm already jumping ahead. The April 13th meeting. Thank you very much. This is our second council meeting that is being conducted remotely via conference call. I want to thank staff, especially Michael Folds and Kevin Schmitz in our IT department, and also Chad Burgo and Joe Sharon in our communications department for leading up all of these efforts to deliver our council meeting remotely. I know I am learning a lot, and I assume that other council members are learning as well as we try to continue to conduct city business under these most unusual circumstances dealing with the COVID-19 pandemic. Tonight, again, I want to start our meeting with Emergency Management Director Lucan to bring us all an update on how Maplewood is managing through this virus. Chief Lucan, are you with us?
Good morning, good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, I am. Boy, it's been one of those weekends and long days. So let me, first what I'd like to do is just give you a quick update, a little bit of state and county. As of today, April 13th, there are 1,650 confirmed positives statewide with 70 deaths. There are 150 confirmed positive cases that reside in Ramsey County and 6 deaths. So unfortunately, right now in Ramsey County, of those 70 deaths, Ramsey County accounts for 6 of those. And so we're still being very vigilant about this and as we move forward. So it's just a quick update. The other thing I'd like to just give you a heads up on is that the procurement or finance summary just came out from Ramsey County showing that they have obligated $6.6 million so far, and that was as of 4/9. And I would assume that those dollars have probably gone higher since then. That money is being appropriated to be used for homeless, all kinds of food, PPE equipment, as well as finding places for shelter and so on. So again, as you can see, the dollars are growing quite quickly. On April 10th, Governor Walz issued an executive order protecting Minnesota's first responders by directing the Commissioner of Public Health to share information with the Department of Public Safety, and especially the 911 dispatchers and first responders, as it relates to where positive cases are. One of the things I'd also like to point out is to have this happen is a pretty big thing considering HIPAA and everything that comes along with it. And our Chief Nadeau played a part in this. He sent a pretty strong letter asking that this information be brought forward so that we can better protect ourselves as well as the public. So that'll keep moving as we go forward here. Very shortly, that goes into play. Currently, our PP&P, we're doing pretty good with the PP we have on hand, but always looking for more. Chief Monder has an Excel program that we are using to track the burn rate of the PPE, which we use every day. This helps us to determine how long what we have will last and what our needs are. And as you can tell, we don't use all of the same PP&E on each call. For the most part, the biggest items that are being burned at any given time would be the masks as well as the gowns. We have received, and this is the best part, this is what I think where Maplewood residents, you know, the strengths are in our community here. And that is that we've had people coming to the door, providing us with homemade masks. We had one retired firefighter come over and hand us a box of gloves. People have been coming forward to ask what they can do. We've had pizza brought to all public safety. It's just been an outcrying of we're here to help you, and we're so grateful for what those folks have been doing, and the fact that everyone, not only in Maplewood but throughout the state, are following the guidelines by staying home, and we're starting to flatten that curve out. So we have, as we move forward, though, we do have one unfortunate situation that has arisen within the city, and that is that we have 2 employees who have now tested positive for the virus. Both of them are at home and resting and recovering, and we do have one other employee who had come into contact with someone who had been positively tested, and he was quarantined at home. He has been asymptomatic since, and he's expected to return to work here in the next few days. So we're very unfortunate, and yet we're doing fine on that side. The other thing that has transpired is that I have provided the city manager with what I believe is a recommendation for an upgrade in our PP&E at City Hall and for those coming into work. She has implemented that as of last Friday, and basically what that means is that anyone who is dealing with the public and even can keep the 6-foot distancing must wear a mask at all times. The other big change came is that for those who are working in any of our buildings and even those that are working Park and Rec, that anytime you come in contact with the public, you must wear one, even when you're with your own co-workers and it's difficult to keep that 6-foot distancing. We are recommending that you wear either a cloth face covering or a mask. We think this is going to help dramatically in reducing the spread, and it's just another part of our system that we're putting in place to help reduce those possibilities. The other part of that is that public safety is now wearing their masks 24/7. Again, the same thing holds. If I were to be in my office, I could have my mask off. Anyone walks into my office, I need to put my mask on, and they will have their mask. So for all practical purposes, public safety staff are wearing their masks 24/7 at all times. So another thing we're really hoping to put into play to help utilize our public safety staff and keep them at work and doing what we need to do.
Thank you for that
All right.
report. Is there anything else?
Nope, that's all I have at this time, unless you have any questions.
Mayor?
Council members, this is what I'm going to do tonight. We're going to do a round robin again, but this time I've changed the order. So we're going to start with Councilmember Smith, then Councilmember Knutson, Councilmember Neblett, and then Councilmember Juniman, so that you'll kind of move up each time that we have to do this, trying to be fair to everybody. So I'll just run through. Councilmember Smith, do you have any questions for Chief Lucan?
No, not tonight. Thank you. Except for I just want to thank Chief and the rest of the public safety staff for all the work they're doing and for continuing to put themselves in harm's way for our community. So thank you.
Councilmember Knutson, is he on the call?
I'm on the call.
Do you have any questions for for Chief Lucan?
Not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Neblett.
No questions, just thank you, and thank everybody for doing all that they are doing for our community. It is much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Juniman.
Well, what they said, but I do have a question about the latest announcement by the governor to the 13th of May. Is he aware, and do we know if there's going to be any changes during that time?
Councilmember, Mayor, Councilmember, we are unsure at this time as to what changes may be made. Okay. I think the key is going to come into play what happens in the next few days as well, as they continue to review the models that are out there and move forward.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chief Lucan. Much appreciated.
Yes, Mayor, and if I just have one, Mayor, I just have one other thing, if I could quickly. I just want to say that I can't thank all of our staff, all the department heads, the great work that Mike Sable has been doing, and City Manager Coleman in making sure that everybody stays healthy and both mentally and physically as we can. But the most important thing is that I come in contact with a lot of the staff with my mask on and with distancing. And I can't tell you how the positive attitude everyone has, the work that's being done. They know what needs to get done and they're doing it. And I think we owe everyone here, and I know you all believe that as well, a great thank you for the job they're all doing.
Here, here.
Absolutely true. Good point. Excellent. We really appreciate our great staff and how they are really, rising to the occasion on this. Council members, let's do the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Okay.
I pledge
Pledge
allegiance
Pledge
allegiance
allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of the United States of America
and
and to the republic
for which
For
it
which it
stands,
stands,
it stands,
one
one
nation,
one nation,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
individual,
liberty and
liberty and
liberty
justice
and
for all.
justice for all.
we'll have to work on that. We don't sound quite like a chorus, but I'm sure it's the lag in technology. So as I indicated, what we're going to do is we will use that same order of council members so that we can have some organization to our meetings. And I want to make sure each council member has an opportunity to speak. I'll also be asking you at the very end of our meeting, when we are finishing up before I adjourn, if there's any closing comments that you would like to make. We'll go through that same order and you'll have an opportunity to make your comments then. One other note for tonight, just really, I guess, a point of order, that because we are doing this virtually, that it is necessary for us to do roll call votes. So that's a requirement. City Attorney Beatty has suggested that, and so we are going to do that. I'll do it in the same order when we take a vote on things tonight. As I indicated, it'll be Smith, Knutson, Neblett, and then Juniman, and then myself will be last. So with that, council members, we need to go to the roll call. City Clerk Sint, are you there?
I
Can you
am.
do a
Thank you,
roll
Mayor.
call?
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Knutson,
Here.
Councilmember Neblett,
here,
Councilmember Juniman,
Here,
and Mayor Abrams.
Here. Thank you very much. Moving on to the agenda, we've got approval of our agenda. Is there a motion?
so moved.
second,
Second.
Moved by Neblett. I heard Juniman second ahead of you, Councilmember Smith. Any further discussion?
I have a couple of council presentations, believe it or not. This
Okay.
is Juniman.
What would you like to add?
City cleanup and Arbor Day. Please.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Hearing no one else. All those in favor? Smith.
Aye.
Wait,
Oh,
do
aye.
this.
We have to call this in. Okay, never mind.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett.
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman.
Aye.
Mayor Abrams. Aye. All those in favor? It's unanimous. Okay, moving on to approval of the minutes. This was our March 23rd, 2020 council meeting minutes, and I would like to indicate we need to do an edit. Our very first call to order, it indicates the meeting of the council was held in the city council chambers, and it was not. It was held remotely via conference call. So we need to update that. So with that, is there a motion?
I move approval. Juniman.
Second,
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Neblett, approval of our city council minutes for March 23rd. Is there any other edits or any other discussion? Okay, then, Councilmember Smith. All those in favor, Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett.
aye.
Councilmember Juniman,
Aye.
and the mayor is an aye as well. Unanimous. Okay, moving on to appointments and presentations. Administrative presentations. Council calendar update. City Manager Coleman.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. As you are aware, due to the COVID-19, we are not doing any workshops until further notice. It was also decided last week that we would reschedule the city staff annual planning retreat that was scheduled for April 29th to be determined. In addition, we are still working on the abandoned housing licensing. That research is underway, and we hope to have something back to you within the next couple of meetings. Other than that, we're also working on the prioritization of crosswalk projects. And as you have probably seen, there is no calendar in the packet because we just really don't have much scheduled right now. We will also be keeping you up to date as things change on the Park and Rec programming and other things, but right now we're all having a pretty low profile. So unless you have questions, that would be the extent of my report this evening.
Thank you, City Manager Coleman. Councilmember Smith, anything else? Any questions?
No.
Councilmember Knudsen?
No.
Councilmember Neblett?
Yes, I have one question. City Manager Coleman, have you heard anything at all coming out of the legislature about Tobacco 21?
I have not. What I suspect is that is at the bottom of the heap in terms of the work that they're doing. I have touched base with Senator Uyghur, and it looks like Senator Chamberlain is still planning to put our sales tax exemption in an omnibus bill. So that's very positive, but I suspect there isn't anything going on T21, but I will keep an eye out for that for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Juniman?
No, thank you.
Okay. Moving on to council presentations. Councilmember Juniman, you had 2 items, cleanup and Arbor Day.
Yes, thank you. I think we should remind everyone, all the citizens, that we have canceled the April 18th city cleanup, hoping to reschedule in the fall, but they can always call Republic Services for bulky items pickup at the curb. And then the second item, we are celebrating Arbor Day in May, as we often do in Maplewood. And ordinarily, we would have a celebration on May 2nd, but of course we cannot. But so I suggest, sort of tongue-in-cheek, go out in your yard and hug a tree. Be glad they're there, I guess, because we can't celebrate together. If you have lovely trees in your yard that give you shade in the summer and help with energy consumption, be grateful.
Here, here.
Thank you.
You know, I have a question. The whole tree, hugging a tree made me think of it. City Manager Coleman, our tree sale, is there any update on that?
Mayor, members of the City Council, it's my understanding that we are going to proceed with the tree sale and that Public Works is designing a pickup that would meet all the requirements of the COVID distancing issues for the day it's scheduled, or the 2 days it's scheduled.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, moving on, resolution for commissioner reappointments. City Manager Coleman, I think this is yours.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight we have some commissioners that have terms that are going to be expiring at the end of April. There are 6 commissioners. One of them, Leon Axman, who has been serving on the Heritage Preservation Commission, has indicated that he will not be looking to be reappointed because he is moving out of the metropolitan area. The other 5 have submitted applications indicating their desire to continue to serve. And they are Matt Ledina, who has been on the Community Design Review Board since 1997 and has served the city very well in that capacity. We have John Gasper on the Heritage Preservation Commission, who's been on since 2013. On the Park and Recreation Commission, we have Craig Brannon, Terry Mallett, and Nikki Villavicencio are all seeking to be reappointed. There is a resolution for the reappointment, and that is on packet page 20 of your staff reports.
Council members, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Neblett, seconded by Knutson. The motion to approve the attached resolution for commission reappointments. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Smith?
Nope.
Councilmember Knutson?
No.
Councilmember Neblett?
No.
Councilmember Juniman?
Just one comment. Craig Brannon is probably up there with Tushar Desai for the longevity appointments to a commission. He has been on the Parks Commission for more than 25 years and is seeking reappointment. That's dedication.
That is definitely dedication. Okay, then all those in favor, Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson,
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett,
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman,
Aye.
Mayor Abrams is an aye as well. The motion passes, and I want to thank all of our commission members. It really is a real show of dedication from our community members, and certainly the hours of service, volunteer service, that they provide for our community is very appreciated. Moving on to our Parks and Rec Commission 2019 annual report. Ms. Robbins, are you doing this one? Oh, no, I'm sorry, Steve Love.
Mayor and Council,
Oh, that's
actually,
Arbor Day.
Robbins was going to do this one.
Oh, is Audra doing this one? Yes. Okay, Steve, you're on for the next one. Audra?
Okay. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. That was a great transition into our 2019 annual Parks and Recreation Commission report. The commission worked hard to put together their report, and they approved it at the February 19th meeting. And now we have it before you for approval. And normally Dorothy Most, our chair, would be presenting to you in council chambers, but this time I will be doing this for her, and hopefully next time around we'll be able to do it in person. Just a little background on the Parks Commission. They're a 7-member voluntary advisory board consisting of Maplewood residents committed to promoting parks and recreation issues. And the commission provides recommendations to the city council on all issues of park acquisition, development, open space, trails, and leisure programs. And so I'm just going to give you a few highlights from their report of the great things that they helped us work on in 2019. One of the great things we did was finally finish the Wakefield Park improvements with the addition of a new accessible program at Wakefield playground, at Wakefield Park. And after that, we also had our grand opening celebration ribbon cutting this summer at Wakefield. And I will just, as a little side note, say the building was rented out and used pretty much every weekend day throughout the rest of the year. And I just can't wait till we can open again and have people using it. Another highlight was putting in the brand new tennis courts at Sherwood Park, which is really coming in handy now because it is one of the amenities during this shelter in place that is open, and people have been using the tennis courts, and we've gotten lots of emails and thank yous for having them open so that people can still get out and exercise. Another achievement was working on the Nature Center Master Plan. The Parks Commission was very involved from start to finish with that. And they also began working on the master plan for Harvest Park. So lots of exciting things they were working on. And some other accomplishments, I'll go through this really quickly. They participated in a lot of community events and actually served as ambassadors for the city and the Parks Department at the July Touch a Truck event. They went on their annual parks tours to just see what was happening and get some ideas and get feedback on things that the Parks and Rec Department can do in the future. They worked on a collaboration with Urban Roots to take over the urban agriculture that was happening at Harvest Park. And they felt it was really important to recruit a teen member of the Parks Commission. So we've recruited, and we have a student Parks and Rec Commission member that's going to be coming on board once we get back to regular meetings. We had one member and he went off to college, and so we've actually recruited another one. So we're really happy to have another high school member of the Parks Commission. So yeah, so we're really excited. It's a great addition for everybody. Then they worked hard on setting their goals. A lot of their goals did carry over from 2019, but a new goal that was important to the commission was to really explore the idea of consistent signage in our parks and open spaces, and to utilize technology in our parks to help with diversity and outreach and get rid of barriers. So that's an actual official goal that they added this year. And I'm here for any questions any of you might have.
Councilmember Smith, any questions?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Knutson.
No, it was a great report. Thank you.
Councilmember Neblett, I'll ask you to weigh in since you are the council liaison for the Parks and Rec Commission.
Well, I was last year. I think I traded with Mr. Knutson because of scheduling. However, 2019 was quite a year for Parks and Rec, and they just have done amazing things. And they are hardworking and intentional, and a real benefit and service to the city of Maplewood. So I just want to say thank you for their hard work.
Thank you. Councilmember Juniman.
Likewise, I just want to say nice report, and yes, they did some important things, and yes, they are dedicated, and there are a couple of members on that commission have been there a long time, which means they are really dedicated to the long haul of keeping our parks an important part of life.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the 2019 Parks and Rec Commission annual report?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Neblett, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve the 2019 Parks and Rec Commission annual report. Councilmember Smith, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett.
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman.
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye as well. All those unanimous votes in favor. Moving on. Thank you, folks. Moving on to the Arbor Day proclamation. And Mr. Love, I believe this one is yours.
Yes, Mayor and Council. So we've talked a little bit about Arbor Day here already at this meeting. National Arbor Day is the last Friday of April, but each state and county can vary it to coincide with planting times. In Minnesota, that's typically in May. We did have a Arbor Day celebration that was scheduled for Saturday, May 2nd. At the Nature Center, but obviously it was canceled due to COVID-19. Without a formal celebration, we still feel that Arbor Day should be acknowledged and celebrated, and staff recommends that council approves the proclamation proclaiming May 2nd, 2020 Arbor Day in Maplewood.
Okay, council members, questions? Councilmember Smith.
No questions.
Councilmember Knutson.
No questions.
Councilmember Neblett.
No questions.
Councilmember Juniman.
Just two comments. Number one, we do this annually because it is one of the ways in which we become designated as a tree city, and we have been consistently a tree city since 2011. And again, I think people should be aware of all the benefits to this community, that we have so many trees that our ancestors have planted, and we should be doing the same thing. That's why we're doing the tree sale. So everybody make some kind of an effort in May to do something that helps you appreciate your trees in your yard.
Thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the 2020 Arbor Day proclamation?
So moved.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by?
Second.
Knutson.
Oh.
Second.
By Neblett. Sorry. The motion to approve the 2020 Arbor Day proclamation. Any further discussion? Councilmember Smith.
Nope.
Councilmember Knutson.
No.
Councilmember Neblett,
None?
Councilmember Juniman, Councilmember Juniman, do you have any other,
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute.
sorry, any other questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Then we'll move to our roll call vote. Councilmember Smith,
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson,
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett,
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman,
Aye.
and the mayor votes aye as well. Unanimous. Motion to approve our 2020 Arbor Day proclamation. And according to Councilmember Juniman, we should all go out and hug a tree.
Better yet, plant one.
Or plant one, that's true. All right, the next item under appointments and presentations is the revision to the 2020 City Council appointments to boards, commissions, and miscellaneous groups. City Manager Coleman, this one is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, Mr. Sable wrote the report, so I'm going to defer to him to give this report.
Okay, Mr. Sable.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. This is a recommendation that was made in a conversation we had with Emergency Management Director Steve Lucan. At the first meeting of the year, the City Council officially appoints an acting mayor, but based on best practices and some recommendations, due to the COVID-19 crisis, we are making a decision to name an acting mayor pro tem, which would function as almost like a third in line if an example for the mayor or the acting mayor were both unable to perform mayoral duties. This is largely administrative and I think a worst case scenario, but as a practice, it's best to have lines of succession laid out in advance. And so this is an appropriate interim step for mostly administrative, and hopefully nothing actually is not needed. But the recommended action is a motion to amend the City Council 2020 appointments and to name an additional category of acting mayor pro tem and to appoint Kathleen Juniman as acting mayor pro tem for the period ending 12/31/2020.
Okay, thank you. Questions? Councilmember Smith.
No question.
Councilmember Knutson.
No questions.
Councilmember Neblett.
No questions.
Councilmember Juniman.
No questions.
Okay, then is there a motion to amend the 2020 City Council appointments with the additional category of acting mayor pro tem and to appoint Kathleen Juniman as the acting mayor pro tem?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Smith, seconded by Councilmember Neblett. Any further discussion? Hearing none, then roll call vote. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett.
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman.
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye as well. Motion passes unanimously. Moving on to our consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Neblett, seconded by Knutson. A motion to approve the consent agenda, items 1 through 4. Any further discussion? Councilmember Smith?
Aye. Oh, no. Further discussion.
This is only the discussion part. I know. It's getting a little difficult but I want to make sure that everyone has an opportunity. And since I can't see you, all I see on my screen is a green phone. So Councilmember Smith, you have no further discussion, correct?
I do not. Thank you.
You bet. Councilmember Knutson.
I just want to comment on the pollinator project. That just sounds fascinating. I knew up north I do quite a bit But it really has an important impact on all of us. So I really support that. It's a great plan.
It's a great grant, isn't it?
It is.
Councilmember Neblett.
I just had a quick question about the pollinator program. They said that they were going to pick 15 residences, and I was just wondering if that had already happened or is it coming in the future? I know I'm out of order, but that was my question.
No, that's perfectly fine. We can have a discussion. So I happen to know the answer because I asked this question earlier in terms of an email. Ms. Robbins, would you like to give a brief response to that question about how the 15 residential properties will be selected?
Mayor, members of the council, sure. Just briefly, it's a little complicated, but when we're applying for the grant, we reached out to Maplewood residents that had attended the pollinator, gardening, or native plant classes at the Nature Center, as well as a network of Nature Center contacts and volunteers in the community. And from that initial ask, they've had approximately 40 people interested in participating in the program. So they've taken, they've mapped the addresses of the interested homeowners, and then those locations were compared with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service's like high potential zones for the rusty patch bumblebee. And where the endangered rusty patch bumblebee is likely to occur, and then recent records of the rusty patch bumblebee within Maplewood, they're trying to pinpoint where it actually is. And then using that criteria, they've identified 3 neighborhoods that will compete, if you will, to become the chosen neighborhood where the project will take place. And we have a map of that too that we can send out to council members if you're interested. But the neighborhoods are named after nearby natural areas. And since one of the goals of that grant was to expand the pollinator habitat into the neighborhood, applicants will be weighted on ability to install multiple types of pollinator-friendly practice and attendance of pollinator by the yard educational programs in 2020, and preference will be given to yards where the garden is visible from the street. So applicants must also agree to keep the garden for 5 years and sign a pesticide pledge. And so with all that taken into account, that result will be the installation of 15 gardens within one actual neighborhood, so that it could be like a big showcase, a diversity of pollinator-friendly practices, but it'll be a big show area. So a lot of thought went into staff in the Nature Center, and Emily Dunlap, our Natural Resources Coordinator, Carol Gerns, and Oakley Visance. And so they've really worked hard to give a lot of thought to how this, gets implemented. So it's a pretty exciting program.
It is.
That's very cool. Thank you.
Councilmember Ginneman, any further questions or discussion?
No, just a comment of what they all said. Yes, yes, yes. It is exciting, and it's exciting to hear that there are that many people who wanted to participate. That's absolutely fabulous.
It is. All right. After that, I believe someone can correct me. We're at the point where we're voting, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Got a little disjointed there. Okay, so let's vote. Roll call. Councilmember Smith. This is on the consent agenda.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilmember Knudsen.
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett.
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman.
Aye.
The mayor is an aye as well. Our consent agenda passes. We have no public hearings tonight and no unfinished business. We are now moving to new business, to the resolution providing for the sale of 5,500,000 general obligation refunding bonds, series 2020A. And Ms. Paulseth, our finance director, is going to be presenting this one, or at least introducing it.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. As the staff report mentions, that you will be considering tonight a resolution to sell bonds. This is not new money. This is basically a refinancing of some bonds that were issued in 2011. The reason for the refinancing, these were 20-year bonds. They're coming up to the call date, And so we are looking at refunding them because it's a opportunistic time in the market to save some considerable interest on the bonds. So the net present value savings to be achieved by refunding these bonds is nearly 9%. That's considerably higher than the 3% that our policy requires for savings and the 3% that the statute requires. So there's a significant amount of savings on this bond, on these bonds if they're refunded. The value of that, or the amount of interest savings over the remaining life of the bonds, is $547,000 or more, depending on how the bids come in. We're also doing this refunding in a slightly different way than what we had ever done before, and the reason for that is to achieve more savings. This will be a direct bank negotiation with the major banks, and we'll be cutting out the underwriting, and so that's going to save between $40,000 and $50,000 for the city as well. So our finance advisors, our bond advisors, Ellers, will be doing the RFPs for the bank negotiations. Bruce Kimmel from Ellers is here on the call tonight, and he is available to discuss this process and answer any questions you might have, and I will also be available to answer questions. So at this time, Mayor Abrams, I would request that you would recognize Bruce Kimmel from Ellers, and he will continue to explain the process.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Paulseth. Mr. Kimmel, are you on the call?
I am, Mayor, yes.
Okay, Mr. Kimmel, welcome to our most unique city council meeting. Have you ever presented at one of these remotely before?
I have. It's still a little strange, but I am getting used to it slowly.
Okay, good. Well, please, you've got the floor, sir.
Great. Thank you, Mayor and council members. I'm Bruce Kimmel with Ellers. Ms. Paulseth did a great job of giving you the highlights. I don't have a whole lot more to add, but I would very much welcome your questions about the process involved with this proposed financing. This is a departure from your usual competitive public offering. As Ms. Paulseth said, this is really in order to achieve greater efficiency given this type of financing. What we're trying to do is really lock in today's very low interest rates earlier than we would normally be able to do with the current refunding of this type. Ordinarily, we wouldn't be able to do this refinancing until this fall, actually, because the bonds that are being refunded aren't actually callable until next February. But we have seen a number of banks take an interest in these so-called forward delivery contracts, where you basically fix your price and then you just sit on the contract for about 6 months until you actually close on the financing in November. And so we think there's an opportunity here. We've seen other deals that have shown savings that would lead us to believe that this would work for Maplewood. And I would also note that if it doesn't work, the market has been somewhat volatile with ups and downs. And if the bank market does go away over the next several weeks, there's really no risk and no cost to the city. We've made it very clear in the draft RFP that we've put together that the city has the right to reject any and all bids if the savings don't match up to expectations. And there won't be any negative consequences for the city, either reputational or cost. All of our fees and all other costs associated with this financing are purely contingent on it going forward. So we certainly hope to have a great result. We think we have a good opportunity. We've also given flexibility in the draft RFP, which of course we haven't distributed yet, to banks to show us what they've got in terms of other ideas. So if they don't like this particular flavor of structure that we've put forward, but they think they have a better mousetrap to consider, we've given the banks that ability, or we will give the banks that ability to show us what might be a better solution that they would be willing to underwrite for their own portfolio. So I'm excited about this opportunity to save the city money. As Ellie mentioned, it's over $500,000 of true apples-to-apples savings that we are projecting. And I would welcome any questions that you have either about this forward delivery idea or about the bank placement approach.
Mr. Kimmel, thank you very much for your presentation. I have a question. You know, the city council has been very, it's been very important to our city council to maintain and improve our rating in terms of our finances. Does this type of action, does that have any impact on the current ratings that we have?
It will not directly. As you may know, the city has another financing planned for later this spring to fund a couple of projects, and that rating or that bond issue is expected to be close to $10 million. We will certainly be obtaining a rating on that financing. It's a new money issuance. It's a longer term financing. It's a much bigger bond issue, and so it will certainly make sense to have your rating reaffirmed by S&P as part of that process.
Okay.
With a bank placement, you typically don't get a rating on those types of transactions, in part because banks aren't allowed under law or under regulations, to rely on a credit rating when they decide whether or not to add it to their own portfolios. So it doesn't make sense in this case to do that. I would say that the mere fact that you are looking for opportunities to refinance your debt, to lock in better interest rates and savings, reflects really well on your financial management. So if this does go forward, if it is a win for the city, we will certainly let S&P know when we do have that rating conversation that the city did this refunding, and that should be a nice feather in your cap that you're doing everything possible to save the city money. But it will certainly not be any kind of a credit negative. It's not like pulling a credit report or anything like that, and it should only be a positive when we have that conversation later this spring.
Okay, thank you. That was important. Questions, council members? Councilmember Smith.
No questions.
Councilmember Knudsen.
This is a fascinating maneuver. I like it a lot. I'm just wondering, curiously, if the current bondholders, would they want to compete with the banks for a refinance, or can they?
That's a great question. They really can't, not directly at least, because when those bonds were purchased by the underwriting firm, and I would have to look up and see who actually bought those bonds. Those bonds were then disseminated probably among at least several dozen, if not hundreds of different bondholders. So they wouldn't have the critical mass to do, a $5.5 million deal. But, but there will be another bond issue coming forward, and we would certainly hope that if, somebody who had City of Maplewood bonds would like to buy new City of Maplewood bonds, that they would reach out to their underwriter or their broker dealer contacts and make that known.
Thank you. I like this a lot.
Councilmember Neblett.
No questions.
Okay, Councilmember Juniman. Councilmember Juniman.
Great idea. Love it. Thank you, Finance Department.
I would concur with that. Okay, council members, do I have a motion?
I move to approve the resolution providing for the sale of $5,500,000 general obligation refunding bond series 2020A.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Knudsen. The motion to approve the resolution providing for the sale of $5,500,000 general obligation refunding bond series 2020A. Any further discussion, Councilmember Smith?
No further discussion, thank you.
Councilmember Knudsen?
No.
Councilmember Neblett?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Juniman?
Thanks.
Okay, there's no other questions or discussion. Now we move to the roll call vote. Councilmember Smith?
Aye.
Councilmember Knudsen?
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett?
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye as well. The motion passes unanimously. And the last item on our agenda is the building or the 1902 building roof. Mr. Love, I believe, is this one yours?
Yes,
Or-
Mayor and Council.
Okay, thank you.
As part of the city's 2015 asset management study of all our municipal facilities, the existing roof system for the 1902 building, which is also sometimes referred to as the Public Works building, was noted as being beyond its useful life and in need of replacement. We did have this in our adopted CIP plan for replacement here in 2020. The part of the roof that we're talking about is the original roof that was constructed back in 1978. It does not include the building addition that was done later in 2005. So for these improvements, obviously they have to be professionally designed and bid and inspected. And the city is recommending the use of LHB, who is in our consulting pool, to lead these efforts for us. They have provided a work order for the amount of $21,750 for providing these professional services for us. The funding for these repair or replacement will be through the Building Maintenance Fund. And there's two recommended actions in front of the council tonight. The first one is the motion to approve the resolution authorizing preparation of plans and specifications for the 1902 building roof replacement. And the other one is authorizing the use of LHD for these professional design services. Staff will, if this moves forward, once the plans are ready, we'll be bringing this back to council to consider for going out for bid. And I'm available for any questions.
Okay, questions, council members. Councilmember Smith.
No questions.
Councilmember Knutson.
No questions.
Councilmember Neblett.
No questions?
Councilmember Juniman.
No questions, thanks.
Okay, then tonight we have two motions required for this particular action. Our first one is the motion to approve the resolution authorizing preparation of plans and specifications for the 1902 building roof replacement, City Project 20-06. Is there a motion?
I move to approve that resolution.
There's
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Neblett. The motion to approve the resolution authorizing preparation of plans and specifications for the 1902 building roof replacement. Any further discussion? Councilmember Smith, discussion.
Nope. Thank you.
Councilmember Knutson.
No.
Councilmember Niblett.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Juniman.
No, except to point out to the public that this is just the part of the building that was built first. It's the old part of the building, the old roof.
It looks to me like it's about half of the roof based on the drawings that we have in here, the photographs. Okay, so no further discussion. Then we move to a roll call vote on that first motion. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett.
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman.
Aye.
And the mayor's an aye as well. The motion passes. Moving on to the second motion. Is there a motion to authorize the use of LHB for professional design, inspection, and contract administration?
I move to authorize the use of LHB.
Okay. Oh, and to further authorize the city manager to sign the attached work order.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Neblett, the motion to authorize the use of LHB and to authorize the city manager to sign the attached work order. Any further discussion based on, or the discussion point? Councilmember Smith.
No further discussion.
Councilmember Knutson.
No.
Councilmember Neblett.
No.
Councilmember Juniman.
No, thank you.
Okay. Then let's do a roll call. Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Knutson.
Aye.
Councilmember Neblett.
Aye.
Councilmember Juniman.
Aye.
And the mayor's an aye as well. The motion passes. Council members, we are concluded with our agenda items. And before we adjourn for the evening, I wanted to go through and give each one of you an opportunity to make any comments or share your thoughts. What are you thinking about during this most unique time that we're in right now? Councilmember Smith.
Well, it is a unique time. I think our family's been going through a lot of feelings. I think loneliness is part of it. I think really missing this kind of connection we have with our community and friends and family, and it makes me think a lot about people who deal with loneliness in normal times, and how really difficult it can be, and those who might be struggling with mental illness or addiction or things like that. I can only imagine how extra difficult this sort of isolation can be. So, my heart goes out to those folks, and it's a time where I feel like this is our opportunity to really shine. It's what I say often at work is people will remember how we behaved during this time. And I think it's really important that we continue to reach out to those who need us and behave in ways we can be proud of. So we'll get through it, but it's I'm getting tired of my office.
Thank you, Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Knudsen.
Well, I think to me, this whole idea of stay at home, I'm just really glad to be in Maplewood if I have to stay at home. Listening to Mr. Lucan talk about the city's prayer, and just reading every day what we're doing and what the staff are doing is just really impressive. During the day, when I'm working from home, I have about 60 nursing homes in my group. And the amount of preparation just to be ready for a COVID patient is about the same as caring for one. So we have a communication every day with our board members and CEOs, and just trying to figure out how to get the right personal protective equipment. My business partner is an internal medicine geriatric physician, and in our office, when we're occasionally there, he's doing telemedicine. And it's just absolutely fascinating how he can see so many people, take care of so many people. So I guess what I'm thinking is a lot of this is just going to be a reset. I think we're going to figure out different ways of connecting, but the common way of connecting now seems to be for the common good. So I like that. So in spite of everything else, I think we're going to get through this.
Thank you. Councilmember Neblett.
Thank you, Mayor. I think you are right, Councilman Knudsen. I feel like it's a reset. That's where we're at now. I think that we will learn different ways to do different things from here on out. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. Change, it's just changing the way that we do things, the way we think about things. But I also understand that people care about each other. And when I hear Chief Lucan talking about how people have, risen to the occasion to want to help and to be helpful, it just does my heart good. And like I said earlier before we started this meeting, you really don't know what you miss until you don't have it. And it is hard to miss seeing people and being in the same room with people and laughing and talking. However, I have been trying to be grateful for living in Maplewood, for seeing people when I do get a chance to go out and walk and just saying hi, being thankful for having a safe place to live, being thankful for having a community that cares about each other, and being thankful for a city and its employees who do all that they can to take care of all of us. So I'm just really, really thankful. I'm just really thankful. And I'm thankful to be able to hear everybody's voices today. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Neblett. Councilmember Juniman.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, who would have thought that we would miss being together? Now, there's one, write that down. But it does make a huge difference not being able to see each other's faces. It really does make a difference. So I think we'll be really happy to be back together when it happens. But I think this is going extremely well. And that speaks, like everything else you've mentioned, to how our staff has taken care of everything for us and for the community. I too am very grateful. I'm not surprised, but I am very grateful for how well everything is being managed.
Mm-hmm.
And in our update from the city manager, it really warmed my heart to see the comments that she got back from some of the staff about how they are supporting each other and how appreciative they are of those things. It just makes you glad to be in a city where the work environment says, we care about you and we are grateful for what you do. And it's, you know, in some ways it's too bad it takes something like this to do that, but it is what happens. And so I'm very grateful for the management team and the entire staff, who I think are just going way beyond what we really have a right to expect. I just think they're doing a bang-up job, and I am most grateful, and I know our residents are. And as Councilmember Neblett said, I have never seen so many people walking in my neighborhood. It's just, and you know, people I never dreamed had dogs have them, or else they're borrowing one because they're walking dogs. So, you know, there are some high spots in this. People are learning to enjoy their neighborhoods and having the time permitting themselves to enjoy being in their neighborhoods.
Yes.
So I guess that's the bright side to this. But I thank everybody involved in running a city, because I think we are doing so well considering what kind of a situation this is.
Very good.
And Mayor, thank you for running these meetings like this. I think it's going extremely well.
Thank you very much. You know, in closing, I just want to tell our staff how proud I am of how hard they're working. And that's everyone that works for the city of Maplewood. It is so apparent that you care about our city. You know, we have, I think, the best leadership team that is in any city in our state. And they are doing such a wonderful job of keeping the city running and also keeping the human element and really caring about our staff. And that just, I think, is so important. For our community, I think it's important that we all make an effort to reach out and to care about each other. I know I'm trying to go through my phone contacts, and on a regular basis, I'm trying to touch base with people and just check in and see how they're doing. I either make a phone call or send an email, and in some cases, I'll send a little note card. But this is an important time for people because, you know, Councilmember Smith talked about that this can be a really lonely time for people. So I think intentionally reaching out is something that we all can do because we certainly, you know, I think if we can focus on what we can do, we will all come out of this much better rather than focusing on the circumstances that we have one more month of physical distancing. You know, I think it's important to be kind to each other and give each other a little bit of grace. We will all get through this. I want to thank my council members for your flexibility in this new way of running meetings. It may be a little bit artificial, but I think it's one way that we can create a really clean record. And I want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to speak and share their opinion on this. And serving with you as council members makes this so much easier. And just in closing too, please get out and support our businesses as you can. We have a number of restaurants that are open and ready for business. And so please get out and support them. And folks, just be kind to each other. It's amazing what a smile can do, and just simply waving at someone, because these are truly unique times. So with that, council members and staff, we are adjourned.
Thank you,
Good night,
Mayor.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.